Now, I'll talk about it now. Hello, everybody. Good evening to those of you who dare re-enter the hallowed halls of this place in which we tell stories and have fun. It's Wednesday, so we are back for Reclamation. Officially, no longer considered a new campaign because we are past session 10. Woo, double digits. Yeah, I was just talking to my lovely players here about the fact that probably at the start of every week going forward, I'm going to come up with a piece of fun lore or a fun fact about, a character or something, just to, help me work on things and help educate everybody else. Because, this is just kind of one of those things where there's just so much stuff that it's impossible for anybody to know it all, including myself. So I figured that'd be fun. I'm also going to adjust my camera because it's a little off center. There we go. Yep. Yep. We're gonna pretend like that wasn't there. All right. Well, without any further ado, let's get us heading towards the game. Kay,
Yeah.
yeah. You were so gracious as to volunteer to do the recap. So, why don't you tell us what happened in the last session?
Excellent. Well, first things first, in the last session, Audie and Titan were busy with other things. I'm sure we'll get to that today. Maybe not. However, boy, that's not the start of my notes. You'd think I'd be prepared for this. Where did we start? Oh, right. Started off with, let's see. I don't have to do it chronologically. Greta looked at making boots, seeing if she had scraps left over for a hat. Very important things, crafting. Corona took a very chill session. More at the pub later. After that, Lilith and Roz had a bit of a chat with Lilith's ghost. Roz shared the secret of the ghosts with her grandfather, handed 100 silver pieces to her grandfather and said, "Hey, can you build us a house?" And he just kind of stared at her and gave a nod. Not really committing to it, but just acknowledging that there was now a bundle of silver in his lap. Lilith spent 4 hours 4 hours writing a letter to her mother, which was sent via covert. And then made some poison, which was some simple poison, which was then labeled and kept very far and separate from the potions of healing and healthful good things. Roz then decided to wander and find, observe everybody training, and walked up to the tyrants and was like, "Okay, this is different." Watching them, locks eyes with Tatiana, gets the "come hither" beckoning, and goes, "Yes, ma'am, right away, ma'am," and walks in. Has a great conversation. If you my recap doesn't do it justice, it was quite tense. I enjoyed it very much. And had explained to her that her sword is not rightfully hers, according to Tatiana and how Dead Company saw them. That it's a training sword, not as in you train with it, as in the more you fight with it, it trains you, which is super cool in my opinion. And after all of that, Roz decided that she needed a comfort drink and went to the Dusty Daisy, where she got talking with Corona and gave her a bit of a rundown. We also found out that the way to tell in future if Roz is a doppelganger, get her to flirt. And if she doesn't turn into a bashful, blushing mess and collapse, it might be a doppelganger. And we should remember that for the future. During that discussion, Viren and Jace returned, and we found out that there is something else that's keeping the saber wolves away from their den. We don't know what. We just know it's dangerous and making them very aggressive. And then Lilith talked to Bandit. Bandit talked about talked about the amulet, that it's written in Emprin, that it's in a primordial language, and that's very dangerous. And the fact that it's retaining spirits and not that they're not passing on is also dangerous, and other powerful beings will eventually have a problem with that. So we might have to fix that or understand it a bit better. Basically, a problem for future us. I think that's everything.
That was pretty good. Does anybody have anything else to add to that?
Nope.
No, I don't.
Great.
So I realized that Discord now shows when we're muted on stream, and
I'm working on that.
Okay. Sorry.
It's a recent change to the tech that the avatars are built with. I basically just have to go re-upload your idle animations to interact for whenever you put yourself into that state. That being said, it's also another state in which we could have fun with in the future if we ever wanted to do other things with them.
Everyone sneak, mute your mics.
Yeah, we're just when you guys mute yourselves, everyone gets dressed as a ninja. That's the clear logical leap we should be taking.
Mm-hmm.
Or everybody closes their eyes and you put little Z's next to them.
The mute's not bad. It's just way too big. Like if it was smaller and on our shoulder or something,
yeah,
it's covering the faces. So it's kind of
yeah.
obnoxious.
I unfortunately cannot control where it sits. It's just representative of because the avatar shape is square. So this is just like we're just gonna sit on top of you.
Yeah.
And it's partially behaving, and then other times it's not in terms of me adding things or re-uploading images. So I'll be futzing with this while we get the game going. But that being said, thank you for the recap, Kay. No one has anything else to add. So really, the next question, as will often be the case when this comes up, is you were all trending towards the end of the night. Everyone more or less succeeded in what they wanted to do. Was there anything else on this day that anyone would like to do? And I suppose it's probably more fair to ask of Audie and Titan, who are rejoining us. Because just take for granted that, again, downtime, things you wanted to get done behind scenes can still get done within this time frame. You didn't have to be present to talk about them. So you don't have to worry about those sorts of things.
I think for Audie, it would be pretty reasonable that she would spend the first day back, the first full day back with her family. So it might be wandering camp, it might be helping her mother, it might be going for a walk.
Hanging out with your siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, perfectly reasonable.
Just resting.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Easy to do. Just like I know Titan has like a laundry list of other things to take care of, like many people, to which I sort of relegated to Titan having started working on some projects in the interim as a convenient excuse for him to be very busy.
Yeah, no, that works fine for me. Titan was just working all day. Sounds about right anyways.
Yeah. So, like I said, I know you have a small list of things. Whatever you think Titan would have started working on in terms of like ease or item availability, you can just plink off probably 8 hours. I'm sure if there's checks to be made, we can also do that. But you better understand your own workflow than I do.
Yeah. So easy. Breaking things down will take about half of that time, and then he'll probably start on. I mean, I guess technically, because this was our first day off, wasn't it?
And we went through this we went through this in the last session as well.
At some point, Titan made armor for Audie, so
yeah, that was day one.
Okay.
You missed that in the recap.
No, I mean you got the armor
2 sessions ago.
Yeah. Remember the Elven scale mail? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Roz gave it to you already.
It was technically given to her in an in-character conversation that we hold during the week.
Oh, you're right. That's when that happened.
That's when it was officially given. It was mentioned on stream, though.
Then yeah, I guess we'll just say that he worked on that. He broke things down, and then he worked on the armor all day.
Okay.
Easy peasy.
All right. Perfectly fine. Then whoever's in charge of bookkeeping for your scrap and stuff, just make sure items are subtracted, parts are added in. You guys have all your stuff. Okay. Well, so that would have been day 2 that we would have tidied up there. So we are instead going to move on to the next day. Okay. 6 a.m. bright and early next day. This is day 3 of you all having returned. Viren and Jace both returned. Jace with a pretty bad leg wound, of which he was taken care of by the clerics of the Orphan. And he would have returned, been brought back to the Greenwood camp later that evening, bandaged and with instructions to basically keep with bed rest. He was not magically healed, because it was instructed it'd be better for him to heal naturally. Since if you start that habit early, they told him if he started the habit early on, that he might cripple himself by the time the war is over, if not, die. The only other thing that's worth of note at the start of this day is that even with all of you with incredibly average passive perceptions, if you're up at 6 or before 6, especially for 2 of you, you would make note that a small migration of about 9 children head from the western side of the refugee camp towards the center. Several of them carrying either sticks or hunks of wood, or in the case of 2 of Greenwood's children, 2 wooden swords. Some of you know what's going on, but it's the fact that Covert has taken to instructing several kids ranging from an age of 14 to 6 on the beginning stages of proper swordsmanship. So, it is the 28th, 18 degrees outside. It's humid, a little sticky. There is a light rain, but it is warm. The camp is bustling and alive. There's a bit of warm mist hanging over the valley that it's currently erected in. How do you all want to start your day? You know you've got the mercenary meeting at noon, as is normal. The time before that is yours.
Well, I, for one, have an all-important training session to watch, in which wooden swords are put to battle.
Okay, you gonna go spy on your brother?
Absolutely.
Fair. Other people?
Corona would probably start the day by crafting, and then go to the meeting at noon, and then by then probably check on Vanya. So
Sure. What are you up to crafting wise?
I think she still had to continue the boots. She had only started it the day before, and then we had made the checks in advance for the rest of it.
Yeah, you made we made checks for you to convert the scraps into a hide, and then the hide into the tanned. And now you would be beginning work on the boots.
Actually crafting them, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So she's just spending time until the meeting in the afternoon doing that.
All right, perfectly reasonable. and we'll get the details for your cobbling. There we go. One of those is a dessert, and technically both of those are edible if you try hard enough. But yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. All right, who's next?
Audie, I think, would take the opportunity to find Bandit or anybody else in White Cross Company to kind of get a feel for the new chain shirt she was given. So she or scale shirt, sorry, that she's been given. So she can get a feel for it. And just other training in general.
Gotcha.
She's lacking compared to her friends.
What exactly? So other than, getting used to the armor, what would Audie's request be? So when you go to the White Cross Company, you're usually greeted by two of the White Cross Company members on Sentry, and then they will direct you to where you need to be or who you're looking for, depending upon your request. So what is it you ask of them when you arrive to the White Cross Company camp?
Right. So she would bring up two things.
Mm-hmm.
First being that basic stances in defense, like really knowing how to use a sword and other weapons would be good. She's also interested in talking to Bandit more about her magic and really understanding what it means to even have magic. But she understands that if he's busy doing morning training or other routines, that she's more than happy to focus just on physical training as well.
Right. Yeah, so the bright-eyed sentries that greet you will point you to the training ground, as was similar to the last time you came here for training, and you find that there are a couple of other people kind of waiting in queue, waiting for an available trainer to accept them. Mm-hmm. A little bit of time will pass. Roll me a d6. Let's see who you get.
Excellent. It's going to be Riot, and that's going to suck.
That's kind of what I'm hoping you roll, but 1 in 6 chance.
It's a 5.
If it makes you feel better, it's not Riot.
Okay, I was
Riot,
like, oh no.
Riot was 6.
Oh, perfect. Oh.
So as each person goes out, you watch as the person before you is quite literally dragged away by the hardened boiled leather plate that they're wearing on their chest by Riot, with her great axe slung over one shoulder, and she's just kind of gives you a nod of acknowledgement as she drags this guy off.
Audie's giving a smile that has a very clear, well, I'm glad that's not me in the background of it. Like, just, bye.
The person that comes up to you is someone you've seen before. She is the representative. No, I'm taking back. No, Racker was the one at the meeting. In which case, maybe you haven't met this person yet. You are approached by a dark-skinned, short-cropped, black hair, almost shaven, quite short, a little longer on top, with these kind of like hatches shaved out of the sides. This female, dark-skinned wood elf. She's wearing the same sort of tabard of the White Cross Company that is known for them. However, she has a set of short swords, one strapped to either thigh, a brace of very thin throwing knives wrapped around one arm. You see there's longbow staff that she currently has attached to herself, along with just very well put together. And she carries herself with a good amount of grace. She will regard you and just kind of silently just sort of give you a nod to follow and turn and walk you into the training grounds.
Audie just kind of gives a nod back and follows in equal silence.
Okay.
Surprising to no one.
Yeah. So before you get put through the ringer, let's go to somebody next to see. Let's just get everybody's first 6 hours of the day set. See what everyone's doing. Which we have 2 of you left. Who's going to be the brave volunteer to go next?
I'll go, I guess. Lilith spends a little bit longer in the morning in her tent, making herself presentable, including using some of that makeup that she snapped from Callista's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's going to spend the morning before the meeting speaking with Callista, because she is interested in the idea of being able to make scrolls, and also Callista mentioned wanting to try something to see if she would be able to avert Bellathor's eyes should the opportunity be needed.
Right. All right. Very good. Last but not least, Titan.
I mean, I'd like to get started on the bag of holding, but you had mentioned that will be harder than the crafting rules suggest, because you have made bags of holding much higher rarity items.
Yes. So much so that you guys do not currently have the parts necessary to craft it.
Okay. Well, then, I guess on my to-do list, the other thing was that Titan wanted to speak with Bandit about getting some training in field medicine, because it's been a while for him. He's rusty. And Bandit is just quite frankly better at it, and Titan is jealous, inspired, bit of both.
You can respect his centuries of experience in the field.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, sure enough, you can head to the White Cross Company as well. Out of curiosity, would Titan and Audie end up going there together, or would you have parted ways at different times?
How much of an early riser is Titan?
He can rise early if he needs to, but if he doesn't need to, he's usually up around 8.
Okay. I was gonna say Audie's kind of like a early mid-morning, not like a 6 a.m., but
yeah,
so
yeah.
they'd probably be around the same time. It's the moment you were describing that, it kind of went through my head that Audie's like, I'm gonna go see Bandit, and just sees Titan and Bandit walking away as she like gets inside.
Okay, yeah. There are no demands on you, so Titan could sleep in as he wants.
Like he'll naturally wake up around 8.
Okay. All right. So let's start with Roz. Roswin, you've watched the migration of the gaggle of kids from the westernly Lyra camp, carrying their various pieces and shapes of wood, some better formed than others, knowing that, for instance, both of the children from the Greenwood village had wooden swords made for them, so they are very good approximations, versus others have, well-shaped sticks. Others have, like, whole small logs, moss growing on them, an occasional mushroom here or there that they've brought with them. To what end, you're not entirely certain. When you trail in their wake, it's pretty easy to move around. No one's definitely looking at you like, oh, you're totally following them, because it's a camp, it's busy, people are moving. But it doesn't take you long to get to the central passageway that splits the camp down the middle, where you see Covert is standing at attention, his hands clasped behind his back, his crimson-colored cloak billowing lightly in the morning breeze as you watch this gaggle of kids gather around him in a loose semicircle. You see the last child trickle in, and when he does, you see Covert clap his hands together. All right, I'm glad everybody arrived. I appreciate you deciding to stick it out. I know it's hard to be up this early, and I know it's hot and it's sweaty and it's awful, but being an accomplished swordsman requires you to do all of this and more. Did you all follow up on yesterday's homework assignment? And you see the kids brandish their various pieces of wood or wooden swords appropriately. Very good. Some of you clearly had some advantages over others. But we're going to talk a little bit about the essence of a sword. And he unhitches both of his curved blades from his hip, and then he sits down in the dirt cross-legged. And you see him lay both of the blades across his legs. All right, everyone, grab a seat. And all the kids do obediently in various forms of, just kind of plopping into the dirt. Some clearly more comfortable with it than others. One of them sits on the large, mushroom-spotted log that he brought with him. All right. So I know a lot of you have your own reasons for wanting to become a swordsman. But something that is extremely important and something that we are going to work on for the next week or so is that you all need to imagine in your mind, in whatever form that takes, however you see yourself, the sword that you want to wield, the thing that you think is perfect for you. You can be the greatest warrior slaying dragons. You could be felling armies of knights, battling back hordes of the undead controlled by powerful liches. But try to focus in all of that what the sword looks like that you're holding in your hand. Because everyone's weapon is different. And to a swordsman, their sword is the most important part of them. For me, these are mine. And he holds up both of them with his, palms underneath. I was very lucky in that I have someone very close to me that is very good at making swords. And these were made especially for me in mind. And, as is appropriate, sometimes you'll even name your weapons. These are Azure and Scarlet. Appropriately so. I named them in such a way because of their color, but also because they were reflective of my parents and their eye colors. And that makes them more special to me. So, these are the weapons that I find myself most comfortable with, that when I have to choose to draw my blade to fight, these are as close to me as I feel when wielding weapons. For all of you, it's going to be different. Some of you brought with you finished wooden swords. And they might be the right fit for you, but you don't know that yet. Those of you that brought more raw pieces, sticks, or in the case of Gareth, a little more raw material to work with, you might be able to find something more hiding within the wood. And that really is the secret to this first step of you understanding the tools in which make a swordsman great. So we're going to work a little. We're going to talk about different types of swords and what they're good for. But most importantly, we're going to look at each of your offerings, and we're going to talk about them. And we're going to talk about your images and the worlds in which you envision yourself with these weapons and what you are fighting and things like that. And we're going to better understand what your weapon needs to be for you. And I promise by the end of the next week, we will begin making those weapons for you. We will do what we must in order to get you properly equipped so I can begin instruction in the first steps of various types of swordsmanship, but the ones that will be best for you. Is that understood? And at various different points, you get affirmations. You get the occasional yes, and out of about half of them, you get a yes, master. And he watches covert nods, and then he stands up and he reattaches both of his swords to his left hip. And then he slowly begins working between each of the kids, but encouraging them all to gather as He does the slow, gentle process of getting children to open up about their imaginary selves and the way they view their heroic selves. To which this part's maybe a little painful at times, but it is quite clear that Covert is very good with kids for whatever reason. Is there anything Roz wants to do, or are you just going to kind of stay quietly observing?
I think that when there's a good gap in time, Roz is specifically going to try to catch Rory and pull him aside a little bit. Hey, little guy. How you liking your training?
It's good. It's fun. Covert knows a lot. But then you see him like look at the wooden sword he has, and he doesn't frown, but you can see like his brow knit a little. Like it's a current point of consternation for him. But then he just immediately sort of says to you, I know this was made for me, but I don't know if this is right. That part of what he's talking about is a lot harder to understand.
Well, that's all right. I don't really know what's right for me either, and I've been in battle. Kind of blundered my way through it, honestly. Got lucky almost.
So even you don't know?
No.
But you're so old.
I'm all right. First off, don't worry about how old I am. Secondly, no, I don't know. Like I said, I've been to one battle, Rory. And you have only ever battled me and people smaller than you.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But it seems like Covert's got his head on straight. So you listen to him, all right? Don't come looking to my example. I don't know what I'm doing either. In fact, I could learn a lot from Covert. And if this sword's not right for you, well, don't worry about it. You and I can talk. We can figure out what is right for you. And maybe that's something a lot smaller and more humble and convenient to carry all day. Or maybe it's a big, giant battle axe. I don't know. But you be patient. Listen, learn. Be a smart warrior.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I just need to wait. I need to listen. And with Covert's help, I'll probably be better at this than you by the time I'm your age.
How old do you think I am? I'm not even 20 yet. You little shit.
Almost as old as Grandpa?
Oh, boy, I'm going to kick your little ass. Come here.
He runs.
The chase.
You get a little, you know, cartoony back and forth for about 30 seconds until you hear a very loud Student Rory, you're missing part of the lesson. If you'd like to rejoin the group. And then you hear him, like, again, you're literally like just grabbing to the scruff of his collar, and then you hear him go, yes, Master Covert. And he turns and he sticks his tongue out at you and runs towards Covert.
Let him go and stick my tongue out at him too. Then I'll let him go. It seems like he's figuring himself out. I'll go do something else for my day, maybe at breakfast.
Reasonable. Okay. somewhere else, back in the Lyra camp, Lilith, you've spent a little bit of the beginning of your day taking a bit better care of your appearance. Not that you don't normally, but you're taking much greater pains today. Perhaps an impulse that feels much stronger than it has before. And also because you have someone whispering over your shoulder that has a lot of advice to give when you're uncertain as to the next reasonable thing to do for yourself. Is there any particular styling or various makeup applications that Lilith goes for?
I think she usually sticks to a pretty simple, like just like a little bit of mascara, maybe. Not like she's not somebody who like paints her face very often.
Yeah, just some accents for today.
Yeah.
Which is probably advised given that it's very, very humid and muggy out.
Yeah. She's putting a bit more care into it than she normally does, and getting Callista's advice on some colors that she hasn't used before.
All of which it goes well. It's weird. Callista always speaks with a lot of confidence about most things, and you can tell she understands her very unique styling of magic. But when it comes to makeup, she seems to be like a genius by comparison to even that, which is really kind of saying something. Like, you think this was really her true calling? She was just probably, born the wrong race. Because this sort of detailing is a very elven thing. Makeup and face paint and war paint is all extraordinarily elven. Especially due to the fact that it can be removed, leaving the body clean again, which is also a bit of an important tenet for elves. So there's a little part of you that felt like this was buried deep down for you somewhere. You just didn't realize it.
Like, she's discovering some things about herself. Whether or not those things are influenced by other factors at the moment, she's not sure. Just like she suddenly found grass very interesting the other day.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of grass and plants and even a lot of weeds.
So you mentioned that you might have a way to help with Bellathor not having to spectate. Should Roz and I be doing things?
Oh, you want to start with that so early in the morning? Is that why? Do you want to be readying just in case something happens today?
No, I don't really have much else to do today, and
Well, learning how to inscribe magical scrolls is very arduous. It takes practitioners to be good at it decades. But I understand your priorities. It's perfectly fine.
well, if it takes that long to learn, then better to start with something that's probably quicker.
No. I actually, wait. You agreed. All right. Understood. Well, good news is, if we're starting with this, it is a fairly easy experiment to attempt. So what we're going to do is, you are going to find someplace comfortable. You're going to sit down in a position that is not straining on you. Something like how when you trance is probably the best thing to do. And you are going to focus on our link, your amulet, and how it connects you and me and Bellathor together. And you're going to try really hard to focus only on Bellathor. Now, this should work, but it might take you a few tries, since understanding and reaching out to this magical aspect and then being able to select it is going to be something only advanced mages could do. However, since there has been indications on the amulet as to when a spirit or ghost is added to it, that we are, at least on some level, have a line drawn between us. So, get comfortable, and when you're comfortable, focus, meditate, breathe, find a rhythm. Again, not uncommon for elves such as yourself to be able to do this. And when you've done that, focus in on as much as you can on Bellathor. And only when you feel like you've grasped onto not him as a thought or a concept, but this is so hard to explain to somebody who doesn't know magic. There is an energy you're searching for. The energy will be associated to Bellathor, much as the energy for myself would be different. So you want to find his. And once Lilith is settled in and comfortable, just make an Arcana check.
With proficiency, because I'm bound to her today.
Mm-hmm. All part of the plan.
That will be a total of 16.
Okay. You fall into a trance-like state, and you reach through into kind of, you're not really sure at first. You've had this amulet with you long enough that you start at the basic spots for it. You start at where you feel the contact against your body, where it's the pressure over the cloak pin, it presses into your chest, and you kind of think about it. And then you try to start working backwards from there, where you begin making associations with it. You can think about Callista, and you can think about Bellathor. But this is still just images you are conjuring in your mind. And you focus on this for about, well, you're not entirely sure how long. But by the end of it, you feel like there is this small little spark of gray energy. And right as you manage to actually capture it in your mind's eyes, when you kind of feel yourself start, and you're back into the tent, you're looking around, and then you hear Callista's voice. So, how did that go?
I think I saw what you were talking about, like a gray little moat.
That is a good sign. Were you able to make contact with it?
I was just reaching out to grab at it, and then everything flooded back.
All right. Well, you're doing much better than I thought you would. But the bad news is, it does sound like as if you failed this time. But you can try again if you feel like you have the time.
How long was that? I kind of like peeks outside her tent.
Well, I'm no perfect timekeeper, but I would estimate about an hour or so.
Did not feel like that, but I've got time.
All right. You delve back in, make another Arcana check.
Oof, 8 this time.
Yeah, real rough. You start now, again, you have a new foundation and understanding as to what you're kind of feeling and looking for. And you try to recall that to the best of your abilities, but it only ever stays a memory and it never comes back to a sensation. And you feel yourself start after the next hour with really nothing to show for it.
Okay, not as well that time.
Well, don't be upset. This is a fairly advanced technique I'm trying to explain to you, and is usually only capable by those who actually have the ability to wield magic. So the fact that you've even scratched the surface is very impressive.
My sister did teach me a lot about magic, but I was never able to do anything with it.
Perhaps, and we move on to the instruction for spell scribing, and perhaps the understanding and teaching there might help you better understand this, especially after if you've been able to connect with me properly. After I help you cast a spell, you might have a better grasp on the situation.
Yeah, let's start up on the scroll making.
Very good. Did you get the parchment like I asked for?
I have regular parchment. I haven't gone out and gotten any magical stuff.
Basic spell scrolls don't require really anything special. It is only when you begin scribing more difficult spells that the papers and the inks will become increasingly more expensive, to put it simply. So as long as you have some common parchment, it will suffice. With that in mind, I know I advised you not to, but did you prepare any magical ink?
I have not yet. I was going to go ask Titan if we had any more spare materials to create something. I wasn't sure what he planned on using.
Understandable. Well, I can instruct you in something else in the meantime that wouldn't require the ink, but if you would rather start with proper basic instruction first before trying something different, you can go speak to the good doctor.
Yeah, I'm sure he's around somewhere. She will kind of pack up the stuff that she had brought out and just go off to look for Titan. Doesn't find him at camp, she'll ask Lotus.
Fair. Well, appropriately, if we assumed like everyone's days roughly started around 6, and you took 2 hours trying to meditate to understand the concept of magic in the amulet, 2 hours later, it's about 8 a.m. It's right around the time Titan's waking up. So you can go over to where where Titan and Lotus share a tent. Of which you will see Lotus outside, currently helping Mama Albrecht tend to some supplies that they've been managing amongst the Greenwood survivors. You'll be greeted with a smile from both of them, caring and motherly as they both are.
Good morning, Miss Albrecht. Lotus.
And they'll both greet you back like verbatim, and then they'll both look at each other and laugh. And Lotus will turn her full attention to you. Lilith, dear, it's good to see you. Can I help you with something?
I was just looking for Titan. Is he up yet?
He is just beginning to stir. I could hurry him along if you need him.
Not that big of a rush. Why don't I help both of you out with supplies and stuff until he pops his head out?
Very polite of you. Yes, that would be good. If you just go over there, we're just taking inventory of everything, making sure nothing falls between the cracks, and making sure we don't have any unexpected withdrawals.
Good to keep a track. And she'll start helping them out with that.
And after an undetermined amount of time, eventually Titan will reveal himself.
Yeah. Titan comes out munching on some ham he took. Cured.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll last a bit longer.
Nice. There he is.
Go over and nuzzle his head against Lotus.
Mm-hmm. She leans into you and nuzzles back.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning, honey. Lilith was looking for you. She's just over there helping Mrs. Albrecht.
Right. No rest for the wicked.
Mm.
And he'll go over to Lilith.
And there she is, crazy.
Good morning, Titan. Sorry to bother you so early in the morning.
No worries, kid. What's up?
I just had a question about some of the stuff we've gathered. Do we have anything to spare to make some magical ink for scroll making?
Oh, yeah. You trying your hand at scroll making now?
I'm gonna try.
Give me a sec. And Titan will just go to the supplies and rummage around a bit and hand you some magical ink. How much do you need?
I think just enough for one scroll is good for now.
Alright. Don't worry about it either. Magical ink is relatively easy to make, and even here, fairly cheap to buy.
Good to know. And she will take it, give a big smile, and then turn to Mrs. Holbrook and just like, oh, and there were 15 of those that I counted, but I think there's a few more at the bottom.
Very well, thank you.
I'll see you at the meeting, Titan.
Good luck, kid.
She will wander back off to her tent.
Okay. We're gonna stick with Titan for a second. Anything here you want to do? Conversation amongst the mothers, or?
Yeah, I mean, Titan's just always checking in, see what's going on with the camp, see if they need any help with anything.
Yeah, Lotus will report back to you on that, given that, you know, she's always here and acting as more or less the den mother for all the Greenwood people.
Yeah.
Yes, supplies we've brought with us, as expected, given our numbers are dwindling quickly. But we still have a good amount of medicinal supplies to take care of any emergencies. But the more luxurious food items, as in anything that isn't the magical gruel they serve, will probably only last 2, maybe 3 days if we ration it further.
Well, hopefully we can find a mission to clear up some supply lines for food. If not, I don't know. I'll try to do some hunting.
Well, as many people, at least the adults, have been able to accept, it is not a necessity. Just, well, you know, after enough time passes, people will begin to kind of choose on the word for a second. Dislike the food. So, do what you can, honey.
Titan nods. Yeah, like I said, anything I can find to supplement it, even if it's just some spices. We'll figure something out.
Well, is there anything you need us to be paying any particular attention to, now that you've had a chance to spend some time in this camp and you're understanding how it's working better? Anybody we should perhaps avoid any conflicts with or things of that nature.
Uh, it's good the kids are learning some combat and self-defense. But outside of that, I'd recommend we keep them away from the mercs. They're not exactly a happy bunch. Then, even among us who volunteer, we're all considered a bit of a burden and a joke. I would suggest it would be wise to not rile them up.
Very well. I will make sure to pass the word around to the other adults and make sure we don't ruffle any feathers.
Outside of that, I don't have a great grasp on the factions yet, but we'll figure it out as we go. It seems, at least, most of the refugees are working together pretty good.
Yes, that I'd agree with. I think everyone has a vested interest in each other's survival, since if one of us starts to fail, inevitably we all will. That being said, Titan, there was something that got brought up last night. Roswin's grandfather. He showed up at the short meeting we had with a very large bag of silver, and he was told that Roz was asking him to make an abode, likely for as many as reasonably can fit to accommodate some better comfort. However, when I decided to look around and ask and inquire, it seemed as if others have already attempted this and have not found any success. Perhaps you could ask somebody else in the camp responsible for our overseeing to see why that is.
Yeah, of course, my love. Well, if I get to the bottom of it as quick as possible.
Oh, thank you. Just don't want to cause any trouble for the old man if I can help it. Braun can only build so many more houses.
Titan nods. Yeah, well, I'm not sure how wise it would be to put down roots here anyways.
Agreed. Well, don't allow me to keep you for too much longer. I know you have a lot yet to do.
Titan nods. Alright. I do have things to take care of. I'm sure you do too.
I'll see you later this afternoon sometime for lunch.
Titan smiles. For lunch, then.
Very good. And again, she'll take a quick opportunity to getting close to you, hug you around the waist with an arm, and reach up and nuzzle the underside of your chin.
Yep. Titan returns the affection.
And then as you're leaving, she's going to give you a swift slap on the ass.
I love my wife.
And your first stop was over at the White Cross Company.
Well, not anymore.
Okay.
First stop would have been to talk to Covert about who's in charge of refugees and the organization of the camps.
Right.
Figures Covert is in charge of mercenaries, but he might know who Titan needs to talk to.
That's fair. You just seem well informed. Well, very easy to do, since technically it's on the way to the White Cross Company camp anyway.
Yeah.
So you head to the center of the camp. You cross through the picket that separates it from the center. And you see Covert is currently saying goodbye to a gaggle of kids of varying ages. And then he'll quickly sweep over, make eye contact with you, and just kind of wave you over. Titan?
Good morning, Covert. I was just wondering who I need to talk to. There's been some ideas floating around the camp about building some longhouses. And apparently the refugees are being turned down on this. Wanted to find out while I could who's in charge of the camps.
All right. Well, if you're looking for the person in charge of this camp, that's Mortis Staria, the cleric you met when you all first arrived, the one with the big book.
Right.
Yes, the Orphans Refuge camp is on the southern side. Basically, if you just turn south here and head all the way to the end of the lane, they're there. You can't miss them. You know, they're big and drab and depressing.
Got it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
See you later.
Yeah, good luck.
Just head off.
Mm-hmm. And
On to his next chat.
yeah, you head down south, passing by the Dusty Daisy, which is again seems to never run out of customers. There's about 60, 70 people there of various groups. There's the clatter of silverware and tin plates and mugs, and you smell on the air. There's some sort of smoked meat being fried. You can smell eggs and fried potatoes, bread being baked, and biscuits, and it smells great. A very hearty breakfast is clearly being served. But beyond that, when you cross over the threshold past that, you will see that the lane just kind of ends in this open section, very much like toward the northern side where you guys go towards where all the craftsmen are set up, except the tents here are arrayed in 2 rows, 4 tents each, and they are put up in this dark gray, near black fabric. And there's a single banner kind of posted in the middle, which reminded me, this is one of the faction banners I haven't done yet, of a single open eye that is weeping blood. It is eerily quiet, and there is a single person standing in the center of the camp, dressed in black and gray and silver, despite the weather.
Yeah, Titan approaches. Hey, I'm looking for Mortis Staria. Titan, I'm with the Greenwood group.
Very good. I will take you to Mortis Staria. She will be able to see you now.
Oh, perfect.
And this cleric turns and leads you to the the third tent down on the right side, and we'll just hold aside the flap. And very notably, when you do, there's just this rush of extraordinarily warm air, which is saying something like it's like you're stepping into a sauna almost. But when you do inside, it's a fairly basic tent. There are 4 cots lining the walls. In the center, there's a small square table with 4 chairs. There are some very basic wood footlockers, and nary much else. Sitting at the table, with the aforementioned enormous book, is a very pale-skinned human woman, with black shoulder-length hair, and just like the initiate outside, just garbed in these very heavy, very inappropriately dark robes. The difference between Staria and the individual outside is that Staria has tattoos under her eyes that match the symbol of the Orphan's Refuge, bloody teardrops that stain her cheeks all the way down to her chin.
Cool.
She looks up, gives a solemn smile. Titan, it's been some time since I've seen you. Please have a seat if you can bear the heat.
Yeah, Titan sits down. It's like, for a little bit. My species isn't exactly built for sweating.
Understandable. We will keep this as brief as we can then. How may I assist you?
Well, we got an old woodworker in our camp. Apparently, I suspect his granddaughter gave him some money, asking him to build some housing. When Lotus looked into it, she was kind of turned down by everyone, told that previous camps had tried to do it, and were asked not to. Just trying to get as much of the facts straight as I can.
Very well. There are a handful of reasons, and you are more than welcome to refute them. If logic is presented that is more sound than what has been used, we can amend the rules. Thus far, the reasons why, 1, an obvious insurgence of new homes, if they cannot be provided to all of them, might cause unrest amongst the other refugees, especially those that perhaps would consider themselves in a more difficult position, and may cause undue violence within the camps. Ideally, we do not have to actively employ any of the mercenaries to police individuals within the camps. 2, materials. And contrary to perhaps the initial thought of wood and wood-based goods being taken away by the war effort, is not in fact the case. The real true reason is due to the fact of our current location. There is no reliable source of wood in which for us to harvest to perhaps make homes from, since the wood that would be readily available and best suited for making abodes to withstand the humidity and weather of the tropics of Saphinus would come from the emerald boughs. And in order to take from them, there must be an agreement with the Greenkeeper, in which we do not currently have. Three, by and large, the most improvements that can be done is the improvement of the current tent-based structures. Given our current environment, and as today is a good example as to a more regular type of climate, the more open ability provided by tents will likely prevent more instances of those being overheated and allow individuals to stay cooler. The weather is not so fearsome during this time of the year that we wouldn't necessarily need a complete enclosure. Those are the reasons as they stand.
Titan nods. That all makes perfect sense to me. I'm happy to abide by those rules. I would hate to see riots forming because some have and some have not. And I think cooperation between the camps is very important. As for the materials, I mean, we have met the Greenskeeper, but wouldn't say we have a close enough relationship with them in order to just make the request. It would likely be a whole... Titan kind of waves his hand. I don't know, concerted effort in order to convince the Greenskeeper. But it would be possible. However, I understand the weather concerns as well. If there's no need for more permanent lodgings, then there's no point in doing it.
At least for now. Given that the camp is going to continue to expand with the start of the war, we are expecting at least another 200 to 300 refugees in the coming week or two. Perhaps more, as the battlefront continues to expand. Perhaps when we have been engaged long enough, and as long as the weather does not continue, or the weather does continue to be in our favor, we will have to be very mobile and active until such a time that we can then decide to create an environment that will be better suited for the total amount of people we have.
Right. Well, as we approach that time, we can have this discussion again. In case you're unaware of it, we set up a council for our Greenwood members. And truth is, we're a happy, humble community. They're probably more than happy to work with you in striving to alleviate concerns. So if you need something, let us know.
Very well. Is there someone amongst your gathered council that I should communicate with first in order to pass word along to your individuals?
Consider me biased, but my wife Lotus is somebody I trust.
Very well. When communication is necessary, I will make sure to pass words on to your wife Lotus.
Thank you very much. Like I said, if the time comes and you need some help talking to the Greenskeeper, let us know.
I've
a day or two off mercenary work to organize that.
I have heard your acknowledgement. If such a time comes and you are available, I will make sure to send word for you.
Great. All right. That's about all I can take of this heat. Thanks for your time.
Very well. May you have a productive day, Titan.
He just kind of nods. Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Just leaves.
Yeah, as you get up and you leave, and again, just this woman is sweating rivers. You have no idea why these clerics tolerate this, but they do.
No idea, and he's not gonna ask.
I'll say, I guess maybe you could if you wanted to roll a religion check, but if Titan doesn't particularly care.
Let's see if Titan knows anything about it. Oh, dang, he knows everything about it. 25.
That's really good. Yeah. So when the transition between the gods of war occurred from the soldier to the orphan, clearly there was a bit of time when the orphan was dormant in terms of establishing themselves as a title bearer. And they really never came to a forefront. It was only ever noticed after several decades had passed, and that there were more or less pilgrims that began traveling around preaching the word of the orphan. Of which the orphan's tenets follow along a line of, which is quite funny and maybe even contrary to what most would expect of the god of war, especially in comparison to the previous one, Styphic the soldier. preaches repentance and preaches peace and preaches remembrance, honoring of long lost dead. And it created quite literally a cult following very quickly. Much to the fact that one of the most well-known things about the Orphans Refuge, the most prominent religious organization underneath the Orphan, is that they will accept anybody, regardless of their past doings, and in doing so protect them. And as such, it is said very frequently that clerics of the Orphans Refuge will force themselves into states often considered uncomfortable or close to unbearable for the sake of continuing a form of repentance, to deal with their past transgressions in order to continue focusing on the good they must do in the name of the Orphan. They are considered by most a little eccentric.
Fair enough. All very interesting, but Peyton's not going to do anything with the information.
Mm-hmm.
Just the player likes hearing it.
Yeah. Little tidbit. Now to White Cross Company?
Now to White Cross Company. We've been focused on me for a little while, though,
yeah.
So
we're going to Corona.
Oh boy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Perhaps out of everyone, the most boring of choices, in that you're just going to start making some boots, right?
Yep.
Mm.
Keep on crafting them, yeah.
And if I recall correctly, because I was looking at it earlier, I think there's 3 checks, and every check is 2 hours. And so, in order for you to make a pair of boots with 1 tanned leather and 1 buckle, I lied. It's 1 check. And it's a DC 10. I was looking at the nice boots. We're just making normal boots. They're still going to be nice, just not name.
Not crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Not brand name.
Well, actually, I don't know why not, because looking at it, the value of the boots becomes 100 gold using the exact same material as you would normal boots. It is going to take more time and more checks, however.
Oh.
Yeah.
Would it be in time for when we might hypothetically need to head out?
For the Mercs meeting, if you don't fail any of them, yes. If you woke up at 6 and then you had breakfast and decided, I'm gonna go work on these boots, from 6 to noon, you could make 3 checks because every check is 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah. Okay. Sure, why not?
And that being said, failing a check doesn't also mean that the whole project goes up in flames. It just means you have to go make another check later.
Down. Yeah. Okay.
So
sure,
yeah,
why not? Let's do that. Let's keep it simple.
Corona's gonna try to make some nice boots, TM. So 3 checks, 6 hours. Each check is a DC 16.
Oof.
However, it's worth mentioning, like, the value of the materials you're putting into it: 1 tanned leather, 1 buckle, which is the same as normal boots. Instead of the normal boots becoming a value of 5, the nice boots become a value of 100. So succeeding in the checks basically multiplies your investment. So there is a weird gimmick here that you could really just become a shoemaker and be successful at making money with it.
Yeah.
People need boots in a war.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be with cobbler's tools, right?
It is with cobbler's tools. With your dexterity modifier.
Okay. So let's see.
Let's make some shoes.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Here's the first one. Okay.
Okay. Success.
There's one. Okay. Dex. I'm really scared. I have to I'm almost contemplating using like hero points on this. If I have to.
Well, I mean, like I said, it just means you have to make more checks in the future, right? It doesn't set you back.
No, I know, but I
But
want.
I really want those boots.
Yeah, she's a hard worker, so I think it reflects. But we'll see,
Aw.
we'll see.
We're all taking care of Ada. Oh no.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna burn one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
We
I'm
double
gonna burn
down.
one. Yep. Okay. Sorry, this is taking a bit because I have to.
Oh no.
Ah.
Oh,
Okay.
12.
Actually, hold on. I might be able to salvage this. Maybe. I just defined the feature.
Okay. We're looking at features.
Because I'm a human. What is it? Adaptability die? Yeah, okay. You can spend one of these any ability check or saving throw. This doesn't count as an ability check, does it?
Yeah, it does.
It does? Okay.
Yeah, well, okay, hang on. Other people who've read this, would we consider crafting checks separate from ability checks?
Normally, yes, but the Kibble's Guide is like really specific about not allowing these things.
Okay. Then yeah, we will not allow it.
Okay. Then I'll the 12 it is.
12 it is. Well, that's only
And
4
then
hours. You have another,
that's
yeah.
One more. Yep.
So
Okay.
you
So
can throw another one out.
let's see. Oh my god. Yeah, no, she's no. Doubling down. We're gonna hero point it. Yep.
I'm sure you won't need these. It's fine.
Nah. Let's see.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Okay. So just
All
failed
right.
one.
Yeah, two successes out of 3 necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, you spend a very, very heated 6 hours inside your tent with your cobbler's tools, really trying to make these boots work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Corona somewhere furiously just cobbling. Tiny little hammers and tiny little nails, and honestly, cobbler's tools are like a little mishmash of like a bunch of other skills. You know, you have to be able to hammer and nail, and you have to be able to sew and weave, and you have to be able to work leather. There's a lot going on there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's really underestimated.
Lots of tiny little things that she kind of picked up from all those years doing farm work before she joined the mercenaries, and just putting it all together.
Well,
because it's cheaper to fix your own stuff than to keep buying new stuff.
It's true. And
not that people from Greenwood would know, but I mean, still.
That's fair. But for what it's worth, you're almost done. You know, who knows? Maybe after the mercenary meeting is done and everyone still decides to continue taking it easy, you might, just
might get lucky.
Might just go back and keep working, and you might get done.
Yeah.
But
yeah, she's 6 hours in the zone, working on that until the meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else worth of note other than hard working at the cobbler's tools? Any special considerations or mentions?
She might have maybe taken some time. This might be a little bit like retroactive explaining, but she probably used something like she saved, like, I don't know, a blade of grass, or like one of the flowers, one of the herbs and flowers that we picked, specifically to like remember the measurement of like Audie's like foot, like just more or less like loosely. So maybe she's just kind of like really using that and then giving a little bit of wiggle room so that just in case, but nothing crazy other than that. She's just working hard.
All right, yeah, we can all respect that. Okay then. Let's see. We've worked through Roz, worked through Lilith, talked to Titan, finished with Corona. I guess we can head back to Melody.
You sure can. Or you can take a break at halfway point.
Gee golly gosh, you're right. This is the appropriate time to do that. Well, I've been called out for it, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna take a break because it's halfway through. Jeez, I feel like I just started. Well, we'll be right back. No dawdling here. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Bye.
All right. I don't have a camera though. You'll have to pantomime for me.
Okay.
Dyer is committed to the bit. Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was a little overcommitted, though, I will admit. Hi. Welcome back. Slightly longer than average break because apparently everybody's getting creme brulee. And by everybody, I mean at least Kay. And apparently Sam, which is kind of weird that two people were. Like, how often does that come up?
2 nickels, but it's weird it happened twice.
I'd have a nickel for every time we've used that joke. I'd have at least 3 nickels. 4 now.
Yeah, that is also honestly not that weird. It's pretty good. Anyway, well, I guess, Kay, do you want some time to eat your creme brulee? I can go to someone else.
Sure. Maybe. I might be burning my tongue, so yeah, maybe just a few minutes.
Oh, sure, great. Let's go to Roz.
Oh.
Where were you off to?
Well, Roz has done her list of things to do, so after a deliciously bland breakfast, I guess the next thing Roz would do before heading to the meeting is go watch another mercenary group train, one she hasn't interacted with yet. I did have one in mind.
Try me.
Immortal Bastion.
Oh, sure. Okay. And honestly, they're not that hard to find. While all the merc camp's entrances are like slightly stagnated, so they don't perfectly cross one another. The Immortal Bastion is one of the groups closest and opposite to the Tyrants. So it is quite literally the entrance on the left right before you get to the Tyrants camp. So it is very easy to find. Yeah, their banner is stamped to the front. They do not have a formal guard standing watch. The last time you all passed by, they have a small, not a small tent, a larger than average tent, with a couple of rows of seats, and it looked like they were holding like a vigil or some sort of gathering in which a woman was speaking at. This time, currently, given the time of day, you see out front there are currently 6 individuals that are dueling one another. Basically 2 sets of 3. Nope, 3 sets of 2. There we go. That are holding one-on-one duels. And while they are not quite as wild as the Tyrants are, nor anywhere near as showy, they are dressed in simple training gear, but they're fighting with real weapons. And just at a glance, you can see a lot of these people are just very well practiced, very, very disciplined. It's almost like they're the sort of the step between the Tyrants and the White Cross Company in terms of like discipline and skill. But the thing that stands out the most to you is that they're being overseen by the woman you saw that was giving the ceremony the previous day or the day before that, or even the day before that. It's been a while. She is human by all accounts, fair-skinned, blonde-haired. Looks like she's got freckles dotted across her cheeks. She is currently wearing like leggings, a well-worn set of leather boots. She has a thin-bladed sword strapped to her hip via belt. She's wearing a leather jerkin. But despite all of this, she likewise has this sort of very broad, not broad shoulder, but like all-encompassing white cloak trimmed with gold and silver. The hood is currently down. Her hair, the blonde hair, is done up in a very tight woven braid, but it's pretty short, just past her shoulders. And she's sitting there and she's overseeing all the fights going on. of which the warriors in question are giving it their all. And it's actually pretty interesting because there are a couple of individuals here whose statures make them just intimidating to look at. There are at least amongst these that are fighting that are noticeable: 2 giant kin, a river orc, and a wildling who bears traits that was not intended. I'm stepping back. Who carries traits of a bear, and is quite broad, and just this huge wall of a humanoid. But all of these larger individuals are paired up against much more averagely stanced humans. And the fights are unscripted, and that every fight is appearing to be a bit different. But you can see that there are a couple of trained nuances in the fights where certain attacks land, that there are certain defensive reflexes that a lot of them have trained. And pretty notably, all of them fight with shields. And more specifically, all of them fight with tower shields. These huge slabs of metal that are on average as tall as their wielders, and you can hear like the air move around them as they maneuver and carry these just absolutely tremendous monstrosities of metal. And the fights are, like I said, they're less flashy, but the overall ability, consistency is a lot easier to observe in a way that it is easy to appreciate the mastery of the foundations and basic principles they have, along with the fact that you really think they all are displaying an amount of strength that doesn't quite seem to measure up to what you would expect from the frames and the way they carry themselves. Like, they just seem stronger than average. But no one greets you. Not immediately, at least. You can easily quietly observe for 15, 20 minutes. Go ahead.
And that's really all Roz is here to do, is get an impression of what these people are like, since we haven't interacted with them yet.
Okay. Well, it appears you are free to observe. How long would Roz hang out for?
Gosh, she's got a full and open schedule, probably an hour just watching, observing. She's never really watched people fight with big shields before.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Which is after about 30 minutes of your time there, just sort of lingering and watching, you will eventually kind of watch as the woman in question that was sort of overseeing all the sparring practice will slowly make her way around the outskirts, just never really taking her eyes off of the fights, just observing them as she goes along, kind of, almost as if inspecting their forms and looking for any, fatal faults or anything like that. But eventually, and it becomes quite clear to you when she's about 2/3 of the way there, that she is heading towards the entrance of the camp where you're standing.
Uh-oh.
So you have an opportunity to run if you so desired.
No. No. Yesterday was much scarier. Roz will
As it
stand
should
her
be.
ground.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't take her very long, but when she finally gets like past the threshold of the training square, her attention turns and very gently settles onto you. By comparison to the Tyrant's camp and Tatiana welcoming you in, this person doesn't give you an aura that is even remotely intimidating. She gives you an aura closer to what it feels like looking at Audie, in that she appears quite young, probably around your age. really no noticeable scars. Her armor isn't very heavily worn in. But now that she's much closer, you can observe. This is most just because of distance, so this isn't necessarily an important detail. She has extremely green emerald eyes. And she likewise has a pendant that appears to be affixed to her leather jerkin of a holy symbol of some kind that you can make a religion check on if you like.
Oh, I'd love to.
Wow, actually not awful. So this is kind of one of those reverse answers. It's not high enough for you to know what it is, but it is high enough for you to know what it isn't. Which, through, passing travelers, merchants, people you even talk to in the camp now, and your general understanding a lot of the active title bearers that exist, and some of the more unsavory things, such as in the Zorana, or the newer organizations like the Cetera for the Dragons of Order and Chaos, or even the Naturo, the primal Fey elements that exist now. None of them are represented in that holy symbol she carries. Whatever she carries with her seems to be something that is small or unspoken of, or perhaps even ancient. When she closes the distance and gets within arm's reach, she gives you a very warm, genuine smile that reaches up to her eyes. I thought I would come and greet our visitor, given that you've been keenly observing us for some time. My name is Lucilla. And she extends a hand that is much more delicate than someone like yourself who's done a lot of manual work.
I take her hand and gently shake it, not sure what else to do and unfamiliar with etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
My name's Roswin. It's very nice to meet you. You don't intimidate me nearly as much as Tatiana did. Off to a great start.
I wouldn't expect to. That woman's name stands to reason. The mercenaries around her. She is a tyrant, and by comparison, I am just a peasant. I, if anything, it is a great compliment that I don't intimidate you like she does.
No, you remind me of one of my friends, actually, but I'm getting ahead of myself, getting a little too familiar. It's very nice to meet you, my lady. I was just coming to observe and learn by watching your warriors here.
Well, you are more than welcome to sit and observe if you'd like. We can set up some camping chairs if you wish to sit with me for a time, as our knights exercise this evening or this morning.
That's an incredibly nice gesture. I'd love to.
Very well. Please follow me. And welcome to the Camp of the Immortal Bastion. And she will walk you in and take you back to the rough side of where she was observing before. And she will go into the large central tent and come back out with 2 folding chairs that she will undo and then gesture for you to sit.
Absolutely. Sit like I'm at home.
Mm-hmm.
A little too at ease, maybe.
Yeah. She sits after you and then just kind of like leans forward, putting her elbows on her knees. So, if you don't mind me asking, why is it you came to observe us today? I've seen you walk down the lane a few times, and you've been the White Cross and to the Tyrant so far, but I think there's probably a couple of others that are more interesting to watch than us.
I don't know. I was sitting in on Covert doing a training session today for children, talking about swordsmanship. He mentioned something that's resonated a little bit with me, in that Well, I have been on exactly one combat mission, and I don't really know myself yet. So I wanted to see how the other warriors, the professionals, do it, and maybe get some inspiration for who I really am.
Well, I can't say that you necessarily came to the right place, but you can rest in knowing that a lot of us don't necessarily know what exactly is right for us either. These knights might appear to be strong and confident, but they carry the same sort of concerns and worries that you do. And they fight like this every day to continue trying to walk down the path to find themselves.
Well, You're so nice. I wasn't expecting it.
Well, in contrast to our neighbors, I can see why you'd say that.
Yeah, even when I went to the White Cross, I got beat with an axe for an entire afternoon.
Did you learn anything by being beaten with the axe?
Absolutely. When I went on my first mission, I got attacked with an axe multiple times and did fine.
Well, then it was worth enduring the training.
I'm not saying it wasn't, it's just hard.
Yes. I mean, in respect to that, if you were to come here and train with any of our knights, you would likely receive a similar pummeling, and that the only way that you can really learn is by experiencing it yourself firsthand.
Well, I think I would like to. I'm not going anywhere from this camp. I kind of look forward to the life of being a mercenary, I guess, and I'd love to get to know you all. It's a good chance that we'll be on the battlefield together at some point.
She nods a bit. We will most certainly have a time where we'll fight alongside each other. That's for certain. And in regards to making straights, to build relationships, you are welcome to come to our camp anytime, and perhaps bring some of your fellows with you. We can share a meal together. I find that is the best way to get to know one another.
I think we'd be very amenable to that. Thank you.
I might not have the physical prowess of the knights here, but I am a fairly competent cook.
Well, like I said, you remind me of a friend of mine, and if I were to guess, based on you leading an entire mercenary warband, there's a lot more to you than meets the eye.
That's fairly astute of you. She leans back, kind of like leaning more weight into the stool, so her feet are no longer, touching the ground. She's kind of kicking her legs in the air. To be fair, I don't know how far I would have come, or if necessarily all of these people would be here now if it weren't for my brother. He is much more capable of leading than I am. And most certainly the strongest fighter I have ever seen.
Sounds like a nice guy. I'll have to meet him over dinner sometime.
Yeah, he's think he was going to go talk to Staria, the camp overseer, about something. But if you wait around long enough, he's bound to come back before the meeting at noon. So you could have a chance to meet him then if you like to stick around long enough.
Oh, I don't know. It seems like an imposition, and I should probably get ready for the meeting beforehand. A generous offer, to be sure, but
I won't keep you, but I'm not going to shoo you away either. If you have things to prepare, I completely understand, but you're more than welcome to spend time here if you'd like.
You're so damn nice.
Yes, I've been told I'm a little naive sometimes. And as part of the reason why I am constantly surrounded by people much stronger than me, because, well, my overwhelming need to see the better of people sometimes got me in trouble.
Well, I guess some people are always going to let you down, right?
Was that directed at me?
Nope. Not, I've gone and made a fool of myself.
Oh,
My lady, it was
no.
wonderful to meet you. I'm going to run away.
Do you get up and run?
Get up, start to run, stop, turn. That's only kind of a really bad joke, but regardless, it really was nice to meet you, and I'd love to come back sometime.
You're free to come back anytime. It was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you as well, Isilla. I'm gonna walk out instead of running away.
What do you mean you're not going
Character
to
development.
I'm about to say, yeah, you're not going to set the goal to run out of every location you visit for the first time?
No, character growth.
Roz is also intimidated by kindness, we found.
It's true.
Okay. And yeah, just the overall highlight. While you were there observing for, we assume the conversation was shorter than the couple minutes, or longer than the couple minutes it took for us to talk.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been a couple of nights that changed out from time to time. You notice that about half the camp appears to be human, while the other representative knights that are here are varied other races. There were 2 giant kin. There was a wood elf. There was a wildling. There was a river orc, and there was a Doreen too. All of which, again, they comport themselves in such a way that they are closer to what you would imagine like a knight in a storybook might look like. They are considerate and caring, and they start duels off with a ritual that involves a proper full handshake and a bow, and they wait for a signal to begin. But then the fights are again, like, not quite as raucous as the tyrants, but still tumultuous. One of which included one being sent flying into a tent that they then had to rebuild. The atmosphere is certainly different in comparison to the other camps you visited so far.
No kidding.
So, Roz, you're gonna run off and just go get ready?
Yeah, gonna get ready for the meeting.
Okay. In which case, we will now go to Melody.
Hello.
Hello. You went to the White Cross Company to receive some more formal training, both in armor and in arms, of which you were acquired by an Atasi elf, a forest elf, who looked like someone who was an extremely nimble and graceful fighter, clad in all kinds of bladed weaponry, along with a longbow staff. She'd eventually introduce herself to you as, let me re-verify her rank, given this is her first appearance, as Captain Silver. Captain Silver is a middle ground, you feel, in personality between Bandit and Racker, in that she is quite to the point, but is also very soft-spoken. So she would take time to inquire as to why you were there and what you wanted to learn and what you wanted to take away from the time you were going to spend there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, I'd be interested in if I need to learn how to swing this. And she'll point to the sword on her hip. And she's like, I need to learn how to use this proper. And really just to get comfortable in the armor. Can only do so much walking around in it. Bandit says I have magic, but I think physical protection's a bit more important.
Magic can be tampered with. Learning to be comfortable in your armor and understanding how to use it to protect yourself will keep you alive longer. So it is good that you start with that. Do you have any preferences as to the sword fighting style with that rapier? Or are you a blank slate?
Audie's eyes go absolutely wide at the question. And she pauses for half a second and then goes, there are styles?
Yes. Much so that there are, on one hand, that I'm proficient in, that I can count. And by proficient, I mean of a certain degree of mastery. And then of the others I'm aware of, close to about a dozen that are worth mentioning. Fighting with weapons is a weird pastime of mortals, and therefore people that have a fascination with that weapon will continue to work on the representation in which they fight with that weapon to a degree that they become well known for it, even if it is not applicable in anything, such as the fact that there are sword fighting styles with that weapon that are better suited to formal one-on-one duels with an audience than perhaps something you might use when fighting in an active battlefield surrounded by hundreds of enemy combatants. To be quite honest with you, I wouldn't recommend a rapier for a battlefield situation at all. However, it's not likely for you to find yourself in one anytime soon. And in the meantime, we will just work on the basics of handling the rapier. I'll instruct you on the 3 circles of the defense you need to be aware of, and we're going to have to work on your footwork quite a bit, especially given the armor that you're wearing that you're not comfortable in. So I hope you don't mind tripping and probably getting a few bruises. The beginning phases of this are not going to be comfortable.
Audie's cheeks they flush just a little bit, and at the mention of, rapier not exactly being a great battlefield weapon, she just it gives a bit of a mutter of, is the closest I could get to dance, and the other swords were really heavy. And at the mention that, to have bruises and get comfortable, she just kind of perks up and smiles, really eager to go, nodding her head.
Don't you worry. By the time you're done here, you'll at least be a bit more confident in carrying that armor with you. And if you come back, I will make sure that you can, at the very least, keep you and any of your fellows alive. That is the bare minimum that we strive for here. And she goes over. You see her lean the longbow staff against a weapon rack, and then you see her take off. She undoes the straps for her short swords and takes off the brace of daggers, and then she unfurls the tabard and kind of leans it on a bunch of things, to which she's just sort of in the lower part of her basic Under Armour gear, and then goes over and grabs a sheathed rapier herself. Will quickly and with a flash unsheath it, leaving the sheath near the weapon stand, and she will stride out into the field. Can I have the honor of asking for your name?
Yes, it's Melody Albrecht, if you like.
Thank you, Melody. Around here, I'm referred to as Captain Silver, but you can just call me Hatin. Hatin Fathid. I will do my best to make sure that you can dance as much as you want. Now just try to copy me to the best of your abilities, and we'll work upwards from there. And she steps alongside you and takes an initial stance. And you begin training with the rapier, and likewise are put through a series of drills that teach you how to move in the armor, how to be comfortable wielding the weapon, various types of defense, and how to make sure you're moving and keeping a certain invisible bubble around you, referred to as various stages of the 3 circles of defense, and the best ways to try to use that. She doesn't get into too great of specifics to not overwhelm you, but she's, like I said, she's soft-spoken and kind, like Bandit, but does not have a problem of tripping you into the dirt to make a point. But then it helps you up. And she'll drill you for as long as Melody has endurance too.
All right. Yeah, and Audie would be eager up until she couldn't, like, nearly couldn't stand or gasping for breath, basically.
So probably 6 hours.
Or she'll hear the noon bell and go, oh yeah, right, I'm supposed to be there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get put through the ringer for a bit. Granted, probably nowhere near as bad as Roz got with Riot the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And if I've been keeping track of things, last but not least is Lilith.
Okay, that's me.
That's you. Sometime in the past, you've returned to your tent after acquiring some magical ink, 1 helping's worth, if I recall.
Yep.
Or, yeah, you got magical ink because you have parchment.
She has the resources to make a single first-level scroll.
Did you get the essence?
I forgot to ask for it, but I marked it off.
Okay. Yeah, as long as it's copacetic with everybody, you could have the
No complaints.
common magical essence for the scroll. Yeah, and Callista would begin the somewhat more basic understanding and instruction for spell scribing. And that really it's quite simple. And however, the thing that she would point out is that all the scrolls you will produce under her instruction will be something that she would be intimate with, and probably without her help might be more difficult for you to understand. But other practitioners of a similar magic type could probably use the scroll, perhaps with just a little bit of basic understanding. And much in the fact that sometimes, in order for spellcasters to learn from scrolls, they have to spend time deciphering the initial formula and how the spell effect was achieved in the way that spellcaster decided to achieve it, and that every spellcaster can achieve an identical effect, but in completely different ways. And she talked your ear off a little bit about it, because clearly this is something that she's very passionate about. What first level spell scroll would you like to make?
Well, at first I was considering Cure Wounds, because that's just good to have on you.
Mm-hmm. But
Blade Mirage is really cool.
well, up to you.
Yeah, just gonna make a Blade Mirage scroll.
Okay.
Oh, that did not link the actual text, but you know,
But you're concentrating on it.
totally.
Your concentrating is so hard. Just focusing on writing. It's crazy. Okay. Yeah, this is a single 2-hour check. DC of 12.
With her calligrapher supplies and her intelligence modifier.
Correct. So this should be, as with most of the lower level stuff, fairly doable.
Yep, I rolled an 11 on the dice, so that's
easy peasy.
17.
Yeah. You take the 2 hours under Callista's instruction, as she explains to you the basics of spell scribing, and then will, from her knowledge, describe to you the formula in which she would cast the spell, and then explains to you how to write that in a scroll in order for it to be readied in such a manner that upon reading and destruction of the scroll, the effect will then take place. Like I said, it's a little bit of math and a little bit of hoogity boogity witchcraft, and that there are parts of it where it relies on far less logic and more of just trust me, this works.
We'll listen to it.
When you're done with that spell scroll, because you've successfully completed it 2 hours later, Callista would then very happily explain to you, after you've now had the basic education of creating your first spell scroll, that there will be times that you will have to make scrolls, and not all of the supplies will always be readily available. However, common parchment is fairly easy to come by, but the ink, on the other hand, isn't always readily available, to which she begins to tell you about a method in which you can write spell scrolls using your own blood as the magical ink.
Lilith is interested, but also a bit concerned about what that does to a person.
Mm-hmm.
She's assuming that there's a cost of it.
Well, indirectly, mechanically speaking, for every 2 hit dice you spend, you can create a spell scroll of first level. So for every 2 dice you would spend, you can go up another spell level. So it would be 4 for a second level, 6 for a third level, so on and so forth.
Interesting. That's very good for downtime.
Yeah, I might reconsider it in the future in terms of cost versus downtime, because when you guys have a bunch of crafting time, it's like hit dice are a nothing resource.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want you completely replacing, extremely valuable magical ink components on something that regenerates every long rest. It might come at the cost of you not getting those hit dice back for a period of time. I think that might be better, but
yeah,
I'll think about that more in the future.
Yeah, that's a problem for future Dire.
Yes, it is. Now you're catching on. So you've done the spell scroll. Callista's told you a little something about a spooky thing that she knows how to do and would be more than happy to show you. You, out of everyone else, have a little bit more time. Approximately 2 hours left before noon. Is there anything you would like to do at that time, or do we just all want to jump to noon?
I think we'll grab some breakfast and just hang around for a bit.
Okay. Basic breakfast, or do you use your once-a-day mercenary meal for breakfast?
She'll use her once-a-day mercenary meal. Breakfast is important.
Okay. And the breakfast is extremely good. Fresh buttermilk biscuits, fried hash browns, fried eggs. You've got these smoked sausage rounds. It's delicious. It's incredibly heavy and super greasy, but it's super good.
Making me hungry.
Okay. But you're just going to go get breakfast and then
head to the meeting.
Okay, perfect. And as I was following, I did forget Titan.
Yeah. Does Titan get an opportunity to talk with Bandit before the
You
meeting?
certainly could. You've got time.
Excuse me. Then yeah, Titan's gonna go track down Bandit.
Yeah. So you go to the White Cross Company camp. You inquire of one of the sentries up front as to where the left commander Bandit is, to which they will lead you to the Central Command tent, which is the largest tent near the very front of the White Cross Company encampment, and the flaps are currently drawn open to allow in some airflow. And you see The older Doreen there, currently standing over a table with a what looks to be like a war map, complete with figurines. And Bandit appears to be talking to one of his officers. When you're brought there by the sentry will quite literally like just turn and depart without any addressing. But then pretty much as soon as you go, wait, as soon as the thought crosses your mind, like, wait, what do I do? You just hear Bandit go, Titan, how can I help you today?
Hey, Bandit, it's not often I run into people who are more knowledgeable and able to train me in medical skills. I noticed you the other day working on some of the soldiers that had been injured. And, well, I can recognize how talented you are. As you can imagine, I would love to get better at my field surgery in order to better help my team. Is there any chance you'd be willing to train me? Help me recapture some of those skills?
He straightens up from the table he's leaning against, and you see a little bit of stiffness in him. It doesn't appear like Bandit hides his wear or his age. It would take an awful amount of humility to come to me and ask that. Titan, if you have the time, I would be more than happy to instruct.
Titan nods. He's like, yeah, any chance I get, I'd love to learn from you.
Very well. Racker, take this report and send it off. I'll be in my tent for the time being with Titan here. If you need me for anything, feel free to send a runner. And Lieutenant Racker, who's there, just gives a two-fingered salute and finishes writing down whatever she has on a clipboard. And Bandit turns and kind of loosely grasps his hands behind his back and just kind of begins walking out. Follow me, Titan.
Titan will follow.
So, why don't you tell me a bit about where you've acquired your medical skills?
Well, when I was young, I found myself very interested in the body and how it worked. For a few years, I traveled around just learning from whoever I could. But eventually I ran into somebody and they had the sway to recommend me to Mythlite.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was able to study medicine and learn more, though I have not yet completed my thesis.
Well, I hope you manage to see the end of it in your lifetime. I have met a few disciples that have taken on their master's work.
Titan nods. My master was certainly a fan of oddball surgeries, but I don't think she'd approve of my... Titan kind of shrugs. My desires, my thesis. It's out there even for her.
I admit to a small amount of curiosity, but if you think it will detract from the teachings, we can speak on it later.
Titan nods. It's... Yes, it's not of immediate priority, then it's a bit of a long story.
Very well. And you've arrived to his tent. It's, a short walk away from the central prep tent. And it's small and it's humble. And he just sort of sweeps open the flap and pins it to the side to keep it open. And inside is, like I said, it's also a very simple setup. It's a cot with a small table. The only bit of embellishment he has is that there is a small standing bookshelf that can fit. It's about 5 books wide, and there's about 5 shelves, and they're all filled with books, most of which look quite old and quite worn, cared for to the best of their abilities, but they seem to travel a lot. He will gesture to the table with the chairs, of which you were glad to see that, probably due to his own stature, that the chairs are more hardily built than average.
Well, that's good.
And
Always nice to sit in a chair you're not worried about breaking.
Mm-hmm. He strides over to the bookshelf after gesturing and grabs a single tome down and then walks over to the table himself. So, the beginning of this, I think, is best explained if we can work through a few hypotheticals. That way I can better understand you and how you've been trained to react according to what you observe. And then we can talk about best practices in the field from there, given that, from my gleaning, it sounds as if you come from a more, how do I put it, proper background. You have clean rooms, sharp utensils, aids, plans, versus field medicine is often the opposite of all of those.
Titan nods. Yeah, you've got the right of it.
Very good. First, he turns the tome around and slides it across the table to you. And it's a simple book, bound in leather. It is scratched, torn, mended. Has a very simple leather strap that goes around the center with a brass buckle that keeps it shut. You can see the interior pages are, beat and perhaps once were wet and then dried, and there are various different kind of spotted stains. And there's no check required to understand that the exterior of the very plain leather is in fact spotted and perhaps stained with blood in various spots that looks quite old. This is for you to keep until such a time that you feel you have reached a certain understanding of the subject matter that we'll be speaking on. This is a field journal of my experiences in the last roughly 5 centuries of all the various conflicts and altercations I've had along with the various situations I've encountered and the lives I've managed to save and those that I didn't, and observations on why things happened certain ways that they did, along with perhaps even a handful of small encounters with divinity in lives that had to be saved in very unusual ways. Take your time to browse it and learn from it what you can.
Oh, thank you. I'll put this to great use.
Now, allow us to get down to the basics and let us understand one another a little better. And he reaches around and from a side like satchel hanging off the edge of the table, he pulls out some parchment and a charcoal pencil, and you see him kind of jot down a couple of questions Then he spins the parchment around in front of you, and they're just a bunch of like short scenarios, kind of like, looking at short form word math problems, kind of.
Yeah.
And the idea is you're going to sit there and you're going to talk over them with Bandit for a little bit. But we can take this as the beginning of Titan's instruction from Bandit, and he's going to give you the good old down and dirty field medic experience from a man that has been around for a very long time.
Hooray! Very excited.
Does Titan likewise draw out his time towards the meeting?
Yeah, he'll do that for as long as Bandit's willing to, and then head to the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Bandit is an extremely patient individual, and doesn't even seem to really necessarily keep track of time. Not that he isn't, but almost as if the time is being spent well enough that he doesn't feel pressured or pushed to go anywhere else or see to anything. So you'll get to about like probably 5 minutes prior to noon, before the before the noon bell chimes, and that's when he'll sort of abruptly halt the conversation and bring your attention to the time.
Okay. Thank you for today, Bandit. Sorry, I never know how formal to be with people. Is Bandit fine, or should I be saying Left Commander, Master, Doctor? What do you want?
Bandit is perfectly fine, thank you. It's but what I've been called for most of my life, and I don't suspect that'll change anytime soon.
All right. Well then, thank you, Bandit.
Of course,
I look
Titan.
forward to continuing to learn from you.
And I look forward to instructing. Now, perhaps relevant to our discussion, you might want to go tend to the young Melody, and that I believe I saw her training with one of my captains before you arrived, and she might be in need of some medical attention. He's saying so with a bit of jest in his voice.
Yeah. Titan just smiles. Thanks for the heads up. I'll give her something bitter.
An important lesson, I'm sure.
But yeah, with that, he'll head off to the meeting.
And the bells chime, and everyone's attention is brought back to the center of camp. And eventually, one by one, you all trickle in, finding one another in the crowd of mercenaries. Amongst those representatives from Greenwood, Jace is pointedly absent, but Viren is present. He's, as has been normal for him in these past recent days, he is quite grim. Is anybody notably absent from the Greenwood group?
Nope.
Oh.
We're all here.
Audie?
I said nope. I'm there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm guessing Titan would have been like, you
Yeah.
look like crap. Come with me.
Contrary to what he said, Titan gives you something quite sweet. And
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And it helps a little with the muscle pain.
Okay. In which case, yeah, all of you are noticeably present. Gathered amongst all the mercenaries here, the representation is a little less bombastic today, in that it seems as if a lot of groups have just sort of sent maybe one or two individuals to represent them. For White Cross, it is still Lieutenant Racker, along with a small squad of White Cross Company soldiers. But the others are representing in one or twos. However, and perhaps much to Roswin's interest, the Immortal Bastion is represented by two, of which you recognize Lucilla, who is now kind of fully covered in the robe that she was wearing earlier, hiding most of the more basic equipment underneath. But very notably, standing behind her, an absolute mountain of metal. An individual that stands at about 7.5 feet tall and is covered from head to toe, not a single little bit of skin showing, in what looks like the heaviest plate armor you've ever seen in your life. Likewise, carrying a tower shield of equal height and a staff, a halberd weapon with a heavy, large-bladed axe head and a hammering side on the opposite side, along with a long sword on one hip and a short sword on the other, and it is decorated in such a manner the pauldrons look like griffins' heads, with a kind of this flowing feathery motif that kind of wraps up and around to the pointed, very angular helmeted head. Just huge. And you never saw this, you didn't see this person before in the camp. But you have enough reason to perhaps take a wild guess to assume this might be her brother. Which is honestly more absurd given that the man has chosen to wear this in this humid weather. It's like choosing to wear an oven that's been turned on as a t-shirt during summertime.
Well, while we're looking at all this mountain of a man, Roz is just gonna quickly turn to the person nearest to her, kind of thump them in the breastplate and go, "You see those two? Lucilla and her brother from the Immortal Bastion. They invited us to dinner." We'll say it's Corona.
Invited us?
They're incredibly nice, actually.
Must be if they don't know us and they invited all of us.
I should
That
bring
is
up
what
her.
you're saying, right?
Lucilla's nice and invited us to dinner. Her brother scares me.
He's. I don't understand how he's wearing that thing.
Your willpower.
I don't think anyone's willpower is getting them through this heat and that.
Well, look at the man. He's fine. Oh, we probably shouldn't be talking.
Yeah, right around the time is when covert starts. All right, everybody, thank you for gathering together again today. We've had a couple of recent returns for our missions. I have write-ups here detailing those the information gathered. They'll be handed out to you shortly. And you see a covert kind of gesture with a hand. And that's when you realize Viren's youngest son, Bathan, is here doing that job, running around handing out the written reports to all the mercenary groups. To which it is the one time you see a crack in Viren's facade when his youngest son comes up and hands the report to the Greenwood company, and you see Viren give him a smile and a nod as his son is there, and almost like when his son's attention is like taken away from his general direction, that sort of very grim visage comes back. All right, we had a couple of returns. Does anybody feel like there's something you have to speak on that was not put in your report? Now's the time to speak up.
I think everything went in our report.
Believe so.
We exclude
Mhm.
anything from our report?
Didn't intend to.
Okay. When there's no immediately, no one who immediately jumps up, you have the only individual that is under the small, very plain banner for the League of Phantoms step forward. They are a very unassuming gnome, dressed in simple leathers, you know, a short sword on a hip. That would be a long sword for him. You know, like well-kempt chocolate brown hair, eyes that match, kind of like rosy dimpled cheeks. Looks just like a really nice guy. He steps forward and kind of clears his voice. And you see Covert turn. All right, Carl, you have something to say? Yeah. So, we were the ones that went to attempt to go steal some of the healing herbs from the camp, the farm, closer to the Titanhorn mountain range. And when we got there, we found that the herbs were being harvested by prisoners of war. It's included in the report. That we managed to interview one to try to get an idea as to how many of them there were, and we tried to get them to recount as many names as I could. So if you're looking for someone, make sure to check the list. If you have a family that hasn't managed to make it with you, so perhaps they're there. I just wanted to mention to anybody that goes out on the mission and you encounter individuals like this, they have collars around their neck, which there should be a drawing in the report that you can reference. They look fairly complex, sort of very common for gnomish mechanical engineering, and tentative looking into it. The best that I was able to discern is that if it is tampered with, if the magical connection in it is disrupted in any way, the collar will kill the wearer. And as such, there's a reason why we did not attempt to bring anybody back with us until we could learn a little bit more about the situation at hand. It's fairly unguarded, so we were able to move around pretty freely. The people in charge, there were only a couple of gnomish soldiers to account for, and a handful of the more statuesque automatons, the knights, that were just actively participating in patrols, along with a handful of the reconnaissance droids that were dotted around to sort of extend vision. But as long as you are mildly proficient in stealth, it was a fairly easy task of being able to get past most of them. However, our leader wanted to suggest to anyone that follows through on that mission that it be kept strictly to intelligence gathering for now, in that his assumption is once a group commits to attempting to do something more that will overextend them into the territory, it is likely an ambush. So for anyone that perhaps attempts to follow up on that, just be aware. This is just a personal observation, and as such, it was not included in the report. But our leader leaves in the shadows. Wanted to just make sure if anyone else other than us ends up with that mission, just to know that it could end catastrophically for those captured and those going in to free them. That if your goal initially is to do that, it might come at great cost. So just keep that in mind. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. My name's Carl. And he steps back. Okay, thank you, Carl. Anybody else? Anything to say to that, or now that you've had a chance to stew after listening to that, particulars to provide? Again, not already provided in the documentation. Okay, great. So we've acquired more refugees in the meantime. I've had several more volunteers. So trainers, please be on your regular schedules, ready to receive. If we could do everyone a favor and tone down a little bit of the vitriol, that'd be helpful. We're all here on the same team. We really don't need to be at each other's throats. We have enough enemies to fight already. I hope that's understood, and that I will not have to talk with anyone else about it in the future. We've received a couple of new missions back from intelligence, along with a special request. Anyone is welcome to inquire about it. It is a first come, first served basis, but however, if someone takes it up, there is still a chance that it could be acquired by another group. You'll understand more if you come talk to me about it. Don't worry. Is there any questions in regards to Merc's organization, resources? Anybody need anything or need me to talk to anybody?
Ross isn't going to say anything out loud, but when Covert mentioned vitriol,
Mhm.
Roz is going to immediately look around and try to figure out who he's talking about, as if anyone's like reacting to that call out.
Sure. Give me one of your greatest checks, an insight check.
Oh boy. 3.
Either everyone came with their poker faces on, or the people that he's perhaps talking about are not here, and it's supposed to get back to them via the grapevine. Who knows?
Neat.
Covert will wait a couple more heartbeats. All right. Well, everyone knows the drill. When your group is ready for a mission, come talk to me. And we can get you prepared and sent out as soon as you're ready. All right. Thank you for your contributions. Let's keep doing this, and hopefully we can bring this war to a close soon. All right. I'll see you all tomorrow. And there's a chime that sounds out in the air for dismissal, and you see several of the groups disband and head off in their own directions. Covert immediately goes back to sitting behind his desk on the raised platform.
We'll look to the others. Oh, should we go check out what missions are available? Decide what we're gonna do so we have a day to prepare?
Yeah. That one guy with the weird name, Carl, he mentioned a list of names though.
We should look over that, yeah.
What's a very
I'd
common
like to.
name?
Also, is Carl a weird name? I thought that was like kind of a normal human name,
That's the
wasn't it?
weirdest name I ever heard.
It's a pretty common gnome name.
It's
Don't know what you're in a bit.
all right. Well, I'm not a gnome. Anyway, Roz intends to go look at that list.
It will be in the report that was given to you.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Audie
Roz,
is likewise looking for family over her shoulder.
yeah, Roz, since you brought it up, yeah, like you're looking over Roz's shoulder.
She's pretending.
Are they the same height?
Fair.
Yeah, just jump on Roz's back and look over her
Yeah.
shoulder. That'll work.
Roz, since you're the first one to bring it up, roll d20 for me.
Oh, you got it.
Oh,
Natural 20.
Nice.
Okay. You have the report, the nicely reproduced report that appears to be part of what Covert spends a lot of his time with that unseen servant writing. And you pass it over, you're reading through the names, none of which immediately stand out to you. Why don't you and Audie, and I guess whoever's crowding and reading this, make a perception check for me. This is just a race to see who sees the name first. Higher is better.
Krona's gonna stick by, but she's doing something else. She's looking for someone else. For Vanya.
It's an 8.
Okay.
Oz got a 12.
12. All right. If there's no other inclusions, Roz, you see the name first, and it doesn't have a last name, just a first name. You do see very specifically, and perhaps it's a typo, because it isn't 100% accurate, but who knows, you know, playing telephone with people's names that you've never met before could change. There is a person whose name here is Alabade. Which is a single letter away from Audie's older brother, Aladade.
Oh no.
Audie, you would see it shortly thereafter. Now, you're more than welcome to take that as you will.
Audie kind of looks at it a bit and looks up at Roz, or looks over at Roz. I mean, that means they're alive then, right? That's good news. And if no one messes the collars, then they won't be dead. That's good news.
It is.
She like
Right,
slaps her on the back.
And it also means that we have to possibly put your older sibling's life in someone else's hands. Because if we go, well, not exactly quiet, good chance of getting ambushed, surrounded, and
But I don't think we're quite bright enough not to do something.
we're not going to do nothing. But when we go, we need to commit because we're not exactly going to be quiet.
Well then, as Carl said, I think we need a bit more intelligence and we should be doing something else then. Something more to our skill set. We should get this copy out to Lotus and Mama.
You sure you want your mother to know?
Well, she's not gonna march up here. She'd rather know her kid's alive than dead.
All right. It's all yours, Audie.
And Audie will take a copy of it because I'm guessing we'll have a chance to go back to camp before we head out.
Yeah. You guys had it on your own pace, technically speaking. But if you want a copy, you have to wait for Covert's Unseen Servant to write another one. You're more or less given one per group. I mean, Corona, you were looking. You're going to look for Vanya.
Yeah, just to see if she was around the area when the meeting was done.
She was noticeably absent.
She was? Okay. Okay. Now then she's gonna get kind of stuck into the conversation that was happening with Audie's brother.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying anything, but thinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I suppose it's worth mentioning to refresh everyone's memories. Aladade was last seen during
leaving the share house.
Yeah, session 2, leaving the share house with a handful of other Greenwood's single individuals that share that space, heavily armed to the best of their abilities, in an attempt to go rescue other families that had not made it out as far. So you know that he was with a couple of others that you were all familiar with, and his name is the only one maybe on the list.
And we're not going to think too hard about that because that could lead down a bad path.
Yep.
Audie's expecting that they got all split up or something. That's what her brain's going with.
Yeah.
Can't wait to find out this is actually just some guy named Alabade.
It's gonna be the whole thing. He's gonna be a gnomon as well. You're gonna get there. Audie's gonna see like the profile of his back working in the fields and go, "Oh, it's totally my brother." Turn him around, just like completely different looking. Like son of a gun, I've been bamboozled. Well, time has been weird tonight, but we're technically at session end. And I feel like this is a good opportunity for you all to consider your preparations for your next mission. And I guess perhaps if you want to change the mission, you could mess with that as an idea if you wanted to.
Yeah, Audie was interested to hear whatever the special mission was, because Covert said, "Hey, ask about it when you come up."
Yes.
So she'd be interested to at least hear about it.
I will do a short write-up and leave it for you all in the Discord. But short answer is, and this might only mean something to some of you, it's a hero totem mission. An adventurer totem mission, sorry. And if that doesn't make any sense, again, I will explain what it is in my brief explanation in the Discord. But until then, we're finished. So you guys have a lot of things to think about. Somehow, Corona has still not gone to get her gun.
It's coming. It's coming.
But it's coming. It's coming. Yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be a bang. And hopefully, I think all the stars are aligning. It looks like we'll finally go on whatever the next mission is next week. And if you guys decide to switch that on me, so I can prepare something else, at least we'll know. So, we're finished. Which is, here we are. We've come to that time of the night. Good to have everybody back. Life gets busy, things happen, but it's always good when we can all come together to play some D&D, which I'm always happy and grateful to run for you. So thank you for being here and playing. Thank you for you people out there watching, listening, hopefully having fun and enjoying yourselves. Yeah, I mean, same time next week, and I know I've been parroting this a lot, but I do swear I'm going to be streaming another night sometime soonish. And I'm going to be playing through the remastered Mass Effect trilogy because, well, it's one of my favorite games of all time. And I bought it with the intention to play it again, and I just haven't yet. So I'm just going to do it, starting from the beginning and going all the way to the end, for better or worse. So, hopefully some of you, I will see them. Otherwise, when life gets you down, I hand you lemons. I don't know what you should do with them, but at the bare minimum, try to make some good choices with them. I don't know why this had to be like that. We'll see you next week. Thank you for being here, and we're gone. Okay.
I was trying to time it for you.
Oh, thank you.
Are we gone?
It says we're gone.
Oh, we're not. Right now.
Did you?
Bye.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
I forgot to hit the button. I hit it to chat, but it didn't actually auto rape, so I clicked the button eventually. Sorry.
Oopsie. It's
the most
fine.
put together ending of the stream we've
Yeah.
done.
Hey, at least I got to the make a choices part of it all, so that's fine. Everything
Well,
else
that's what
is
I
just an
timed it
extra.
for. Because you're